Greetings, everyone. I'm excited to welcome Derek Osgood, founder and CEO at Ignition. Derek, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to jam a bit.
Yeah, excited to have you here. Let's start off. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I mean, my background basically, I've run products and marketing teams kind of throughout the valley. So early on, I was a PM at PlayStation, launching big AAA games, and then I've been around venture-backed startups ever since. So did a lot of early stage stuff, running marketing and growth teams, range of different verticals from like mobile to payments, a couple of different prosumer services, and then ended up joining BBVA, which is a big Spanish bank that a lot of people don't know about, and ran marketing across a portfolio of companies in their innovation arm that we either created and incubated in-house or invested in or acquired. And then ended up joining Rippling, stood up product marketing there from seed through Series B. And these days, I'm building, platforms for helping companies to commercialize new products, features, campaigns, et cetera. So basically bring new things to market, from concept through to launch. And so we have a bunch of research tools that help with like collecting market intel to inform planning, a bunch of planning tools for road mapping and go-to-market planning, and then a lot of like communication and orchestration tooling to help kind of automate the internal processes around that stuff.
Yeah. Well, great. Yeah, definitely a big tech background, it sounds like. That's great. And then, yeah, let's talk about what you're currently working on, Ignition. So tell us about Ignition. What products and or services does Ignition offer?
Yeah. So, I mean, like we're like bundled platform, kind of rolling together a couple of different categories of software. So like I mentioned, like we kind of help with managing the launch process end to end for new things. One of those are products or features or campaigns. And so upfront, we have some competitive intelligence tooling that helps to basically monitor and track what's going on with competitors. Then we have some voice of customer analysis tooling that helps with analyzing customer conversations and sales data to again kind of extract insight that's going to inform your plans. We then have some road mapping tools where we take all that intel and we help to like create a revenue based roadmap for the product team to prioritize based what they're going to bill based on kind of actual revenue impact. And then from there, we basically help introduce, close the loop between product and sales and marketing by both sending kind of automated notifications to sales when features ship and identifying, a specific rep who has a deal that just got unblocked because a feature that that customer was asking for shipped. But also, on the go-to-market side of the house, we help fully orchestrate a go-to-market planning motion for the marketing team. So we help with like goals, timelines, briefing documentation, asset management. And then within all of that, there's a communication layer that helps to automate pushing information to the teams that are involved in that process at different stages. So supporting all the like sales enablement work that's happening. So we roll a whole bunch of things together, and then underlying all of that, we have kind of an AI layer that helps with analyzing all, like collecting all the intel, helping to contextualize all of it, helping to automate a lot of the workflows at those different steps, and then also helps with a lot of the content creation coming out of that to create and communicate information to those teams and customers.
Yeah, a lot going on there. And I love you said revenue-based road mapping. I love that. Yeah. Let's drive revenue instead of maybe we get a little off track with the roadmap and a little sales influence in there. So who I can definitely see SaaS companies, tech companies use this, but what industries are you going after with your product?
Yeah. So, I mean, like SaaS companies are kind of our bread and butter, but we work with a range of different industries. I mean, the funny thing about like, the go to market process is that, it's a problem for companies in every single vertical. So, and also like every shape and size company too. So we have customers all the way from like tiny 2-person orgs all the way up through 3,500 person enterprise companies. And, essentially like when you think about the industries that we serve, primarily is SaaS, but we also have a lot of like CPG customers as well as like entertainment. So basically anybody who's launching things, like whether that's a physical product or a software product.
Okay. Okay. And then who are you trying to find within these orgs to have that initial discussion?
Yeah, so we typically work with the product team. However, we also work pretty closely with like product marketing ends up being an entry point for us pretty often. And to a lesser degree, sales and marketing teams too. Sometimes they'll come to us and be the entry point, but by and large, we mostly work with like the product team and the product marketing team.
Okay. And then for your application to be effective, like who's being onboarded on the app? Is it the product team? Is it, I assume sales, marketing? Like who's actually in the application to make this effective?
Yeah. So typically it's like one or both product and product marketing that are, in the app like day in, day out, kind of driving usage. But there's the platform, because go to market is a team sport that like encompasses all of these different orgs. The platform's designed to allow for those other teams to come in and get at the information that they need out of it really easily. And pricing model is also structured that way. So like all those people who are just kind of consuming information and like being enabled by the planning that's being done in our platform, they're all free. So typically, like, in terms of who gets access to the product, like it's the whole company. But in terms of who's actually like driving most of the planning, it tends to be product and product marketing.
Okay. Okay. I mean, go to market's hard enough. So I can see, yeah, like putting framework process around this. Yeah, I love it. So, and what year did you found Ignition?
Yes, we formed the company in February of 2021.
Okay. And then do you have a headquarters location or are you virtual?
We're fully remote. So
Okay.
we're fully distributed. I'm based in LA and my co-founder is based in San Francisco. The rest of the team's kind of all over the world. So trying to cut down on office costs and also get access to the best talent, like wherever they may be.
Yep. And then talking about team, what's your current team size?
So we're 18 people right now.
Okay. And how would it be mostly product development side right now, or tell us about the current composition?
Yeah, it's primarily like engineering. So, we basically have myself. I'm a former, like I mentioned, like marketer. So, I kind of like with pinch hitting on marketing and sales and all the CEO stuff for a while. And then my co-founder is kind of more of the product guy. And so basically, like it was us, mostly engineers. We've got a designer, a QA engineer. We have now our first sales and marketer as well. So basically there's like 4 people or 5 people who are not engineers, and then everybody else are developers.
Okay. Okay. That's interesting. It's helpful, at that stage of company. And then regarding revenue, anything you want to share around ARR range revenue? Are you generating revenue right now?
We are generating revenue. We're not really sharing the numbers on it right now, but we're kind of still early, like seed stage, but we're generating revenue in the like hundreds of Ks. So
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And then what about your go-to-market motion? How, you have a defined niche, kind of the industries you're going after. So how are you finding your prospects?
yeah, it's basically a combo of things. So I would say that there's kind of three main pillars how we reach prospects. One is we do a lot of content work where we're just building out our inbound motion and working on SEO constantly. Two is we do a decent amount of like outbound as well, and so we're cold emailing, cold calling folks, getting in front of them that way. And then the third is through channel partners. So we do a decent amount of, channel partner work with like marketing agencies, with product agencies who are distributing us to their clients as well. So those are kind of three main buckets, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff kind of like augmenting all of that at all times. So, like we've got some very light, like paid search going on. We've got some, a couple of other like always on activities that are sort of supporting it. But those are the three main buckets that we spend most of our time thinking about.
Well, I love that. I love the precision. You knew exactly your go-to-market motion. So, and on the third pillar here, the channel partners, because sometimes that can be kind of mystery of like not even exploring it for one, or just like how does it work? I mean, just your experience on channel partners. How do you know like my product could be a good fit to go that channel partner route, or just any insight on SaaS founders, when or maybe when they should not use a channel partner?
Yeah, so channel partners are interesting because I built a lot of like channel motions in past lives. And I think, the reason that we started doing channel partnerships at Ignition was because we had bunch of partners come in and say, "Hey, I want to resell your product." And we're like, "Cool, awesome, go resell our product." And they were successful doing it. And we're like, "All right, this is a motion now." And we're going to operationalize it. And so I think like the thing that a lot of companies get wrong when they do channel partnerships is that they don't actually think about like how to truly operationalize it and how to actually align incentives too. I think a lot of companies, they'll do something, for example, where it's like, you refer us a customer, you get $1,000. Like we do a much, much higher incentive for our channel partners. And we're like, look, we're going to give you, a 20-25% cut of all revenue that you bring in perpetuity. That makes it really compelling incentive for a channel partner to go out and promote us because they can actually build an ongoing book of, a lot of the channel partners you're working with, like usually they're going to be like services businesses. And those services businesses suffer from having really spiky revenue because they have to go, like sell their time. So what we're able to provide them is like they can build a recurring revenue stream just by selling essentially software that they don't have to build. So, a lot of it is like, how do you design the incentive model in a way that like makes sense for those channel partners for you actually to be top of mind? The other thing that we do is like we work really closely with those channel partners to bring them into product development. We make them feel like true partners. I think it's so common for companies that are building out channel partnerships where it's like they build a referral structure and they're like, cool, like just send us deals. Then it's not really a partnership. It's just they're an affiliate seller. And I think, there's a lot of things that we have not done yet that are important to doing this motion that, we plan on doing a lot more. Like, for example, building out like dedicated educational resources for those channel partners and how to sell the product. It's an area that like I think so many companies get wrong when they're building out channel motions. They don't realize that they have to educate that partner as much as they have to educate their customers. So in terms of like identifying channel partnerships are right. I think it all depends on the type of channel partnership. I think where companies go wrong is when they start like really trying to build really heavy duty channel partnerships, require significant time, product, et cetera, investment, because those very rarely materialize at the rate that you hope they will. And so, when you're able to do it like with relatively tight sales cycles, with relatively weight lift per channel partner in order to support it, it starts to make a lot more sense.
Okay. Yeah, really appreciate that because it's that like a true channel partner. It's not just, hey, good luck, go sell my product, bring me deals, right? You've got to dedicate resources, investment to actually make that effective, just like PLG or SLG or what inbound, whatever it might be. So
Yeah.
yeah, appreciate that insight. And let's move to the fundraising side. How much capital have you raised to date now?
Yeah. So we've raised about 8 million at this point.
Okay. Okay. And it looks like that was, yeah, 8 billion seed round to this point. And then for that seed round or just, the 8 million raise, what triggers or milestones did you see that said we're ready for the seed raise?
I mean, in terms of like, that raise is spread out over a pre-seed and a seed, and like we raised initially off of, the idea for what we were building. And so, our first raise was just the concept and there weren't really any milestones aside from like we had put together a co-founding team. I think, when you talk about the seed raise itself, the biggest thing that we were looking for was like velocity of usage. And so we were basically optimizing around, are we seeing cohorts that are coming in expanding usage over time, like are those cohorts like healthily retaining as well? So at that stage, we weren't quite thinking as much about like revenue milestones. I think like seeds always like a mix of usage and revenue. And like it's like, is there some degree of commercial proof here, but also like, do people like it? And is it working well? And like, is it delivering value to them? And so those were the biggest like qualitative signals that we were looking for. And then, I think like obviously once you start getting into later races, it becomes much more metrics, purely metrics driven on, revenue, AC, et cetera.
Yeah, I love that because that really seems to line up with at least today's fundraising environment. Just talked to another founder today where almost those Series A expectations now put on seed
Mhm.
expectations. And maybe it's that revenue base, like revenue traction, but some other traction to show in your seed round that there is traction, like you said, usage or some action that you can see that is showing some fit, so maybe some early product market fit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, it's funny because it all depends on the investor that you're talking to. Also, it's like some investors that we would talk to at seed, their expectations were functionally like what historically has been Series A level metrics, where it's like they're looking for, 1 to 2 million in ARR, growing at, X% over year. And, I think like that's bananas when you think about like what traditional seed raises have looked like, where, seed is designed to be you have early signs of some traction and you have early signs that like there's a need, there's a problem and there's a solution there. And you can like kind of monetize. And, I think that's shifted a little bit in like the funky fundraising environment that has been the last, 2 years or so. But, you know, yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that insight. And with that pre-seed or seed, any fundraising lessons that you learned in the process that you'd like to share with the founder community?
I mean, I think like, one of the things, so we kind of like started to raise a, seed round and quite a while ago, actually. And we kind of dipped our toe in the water. We had like traction, we had, things going well, and we kind of half-heartedly went out to market. And I think that that was a mistake at that point. Like realistically, if we had like gone just like treated as a true fundraise process and like, every other fundraise that we've done, it's been like, it's a full-time job. It's all we're doing. We're committing to it until we hit our number, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's a process. And I think, like we kind of did the whole dip our toe in the water, see what like investor interest looks like at this stage based on like where we were traction wise. And we pulled out like purposefully after we had hit like a certain percentage of the race that we wanted to do. But I think realistically, like, I regret doing that just because it was like a kind of burned a lot of time on something that we probably otherwise could have run a real process on and like reached where we were targeting. But yeah, I think like, it's one of the biggest learnings is just like, fundraising, you're either in or you're out on it, and you need to be like all in on it. And it's, 200% of your energy for that period of time that you are raising. And then, and all things else kind of grind to a halt, and you need to trust your team to be able to like execute on the other stuff while you're out in market.
Yeah. this- Yeah, that's definitely come up from other founders. Like you said, you're either fundraising or you're not there. There's no in between. It's a full-time job, and yeah, you either have to be prepared to do it or wait for a later date. So appreciate that insight. So Derek, at the current stage of your business, do you have a favorite number or metric that you're focused on to guide the business?
Yeah, I mean, our product's interesting because we have so many different like parts of the product and we sell it modular. So you can kind of put a North Star metric on each of those different products. Ultimately, the North Star metric that we measure the company around is really like number of launches created, because that's kind of an encapsulation of all the other stuff that we do. Um, and it, pretty directly correlates to like revenue also, is like, companies are regularly creating launches and they're creating them at higher velocity. That means that they're probably more likely to end up paying and expanding. And so, we try and pick a usage metric that like has direct tie to revenue. Ultimately, like we're driving like revenue is the North Star that we're driving against. But, I think that those are probably the two big ones.
And tell us a little bit about your pricing model. Is it traditional seat based, or you mentioned kind of launches correlate to revenue? So is there some usage component to your pricing?
No, so we're seat based
Okay.
for your pricing. So basically anybody who's contributing content, but it's more just that like it directly correlates to revenue because it's like indicative of expansion of usage, which typically means that we can expand them in terms of like pricing as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. So really appreciate your time today as we wrap up. Tell us what's coming up next for Ignition.
Yeah, I mean, like this year, it's all just a bunch of AI stuff. We are taking, one of the things that I'm most excited about is, how we are kind of starting to touch into sales enablement and the ability to take all the strategic planning that's done in our product that basically forms the foundation of what any like sales enablement motion looks like in most companies. And because of, the advent of AI and LLMs, we're actually able to contextualize all of that in like an underlying model for your company that then allows anybody across the board, like salespeople, to come in and ask a question like, hey, how do I talk about this product to this persona? We can look across all that like persona details, all your roadmaps, all your go-to-market plans, and spit out personalized messaging and sales guides for those sales reps based on the strategic planning that product and product marketing are already doing. So I think like super excited about some of that stuff. I think this year is all just like grow for us. And so, most of our emphasis is all on the go-to-market side of the house. It's very meta for us.
Yeah. 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 Obviously, yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of product roadmap to chew through
Yep.
and push out to your customers.
Yep.
And, so you have the tactical portion like product roadmap, right? Let's grow. And anything you do personally to kind of try to peer around the corner, like what's happening in your industry? Are there any things that you do to try to look even farther ahead, maybe 5 years ahead?
I mean, we stay pretty plugged in, with like just leaders and customer base that we sell to. And so, like we've got a lot of those folks on our cap table as well as, like in our networks. So we're regularly talking to all of our, investors, customers, et cetera. I think like beyond that, a lot of it's just kind of the unfortunate reality of like product work is that it's oftentimes a little bit of like intuition and just understanding what customers are asking for and like keeping your eye on what's going on with competitors. And we use our own product for a lot of this. So we use our own product for all of our competitive monitoring, all of our customer analysis. So, it's definitely a bit of that as well, but mostly it's just like continuing to talk to customers, continuing to talk to the people who actually like matter in your market and, understanding what they're seeing, and what they think is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Can't go wrong talking to customers, right? So, yeah. Well, Derek, really appreciate your time and sharing your experience and insights today. If listeners would like to learn more about Ignition, where should we send them online?
Yeah, so our website is habignition.com. And if they want to reach out to me, I'm on LinkedIn. That's Derek Osgood 3 is my handle on there. But love to hear anybody who's wrestling with this stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Go to Mark's part enough. So, Derek, really appreciate your time. And if you'd like to learn more about what Derek's doing in Ignition, check out haveignition.com. And Derek, appreciate your time today.
Likewise. Yeah, thanks a bunch.
Thanks.